Thank you for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, brutal battles and fierce fighting in the Middle East as Israel launches strikes in Syria to protect the Druze people while keeping up its attacks on Hamas in Gaza. Israel is also rebuilding after deadly strikes from Iran. Here at home, President Donald Trump taking a tougher stance against Russia over its war on Ukraine. We're going to show you how he's moving to help Ukraine protect itself. And we've got lessons to deal with your stresses in life from a pastor with advice on how to reduce anxiety based on wisdom from the Bible and brain science. And 30 years ago, CBN's Gordon Robertson founded the Asian Center for Missions. We're going to bring you a look at the amazing work God has done through his step of obedience. All those stories and more right now on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
It is Tuesday, July 15th. We're going to begin this half hour with the fierce fighting in the Middle East. Israel has launched airstrikes in Syria to protect the Druze population there. And as Israel forces are making more gains in their attacks against Hamas in Gaza. At the same time, Israel is also rebuilding after the recent strikes by Iran. Chuck Holton brings us the story. He's reporting now from Jerusalem.
In Syria, one of the deadliest tribal clashes in years is unfolding in the southern province of Sueda. More than 30 are confirmed dead and nearly 100 injured, according to Syria's interior ministry. But independent monitors say the toll is far higher, at least 100 killed, including children, women, and 14 regime troops, after government forces reportedly joined Sunni Bedouin fighters in attacks against the Druze.
We had more than 60 injured people come to Israel hospital. The injuries ranged from mild to moderate to severe, and we also had 8 deaths.
Israel has responded with airstrikes on HTS positions near the border, meant to prevent jihadist gains and protect local Druze villages. Meanwhile, in Gaza, Israeli troops are still locked in combat with Hamas in Gaza City. The IDF says it's uncovered more tunnels and eliminated multiple commanders, but sustained the loss of 3 more IDF troops in combat operations overnight. And in central Israel, rebuilding has begun. In Bat Yam, south of Tel Aviv, crews are demolishing buildings destroyed by Iranian missiles during the 12-day war.
Tomorrow we'll be here, a lot of new buildings. We're going to demolish 20 buildings, but we're going to build them better, stronger, and there will be much more Israeli families running around here, and that will be the best answer to our enemies.
From Jerusalem, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
I want to continue our coverage from the Middle East now with the Bureau Chief, Chris Mitchell. He's joining us. So, Chris, how important are these rebuilding projects to Israelis after the 12-day war with Iran?
Well, Ephraim, they're extremely important. They really signal that they're going to rebuild after what Iran did to them. We were there in Bat Yam just a day after that attack, destroyed a whole apartment building, and we talked to the mayor down there as well. At that time, just as he was in Chuck's report, he was adamant that the people of Israel would rebuild. The devastation from that attack, by the way, went actually for several blocks in that region. So there's a lot of rebuilding that's going on. But I think this rebuilding effort by Israel, not only in Bat Yam, but in northern Israel or any of the places that were attacked by Iran, this is something that Israelis do reflexively, and they're going to be rebuilding. And after this 12-day war, where they believe that Iran's nuclear facilities have been set back for years, but very important time for people of Israel to rebuild and restore after this war. But the war, in many ways, as Chuck's report shows, it's going on multiple fronts.
Chuck Holton is also reporting that Israeli forces are pushing ahead against Hamas even as ceasefire talks are ongoing. Is Israel trying to do as much as it can against Hamas before a temporary ceasefire and hostage deal are reached?
Very much so, and this is all part of Gideon's chariots that we have talked about, Ephraim, many times. Right now, I've heard estimates as far low as 62%, as high as 80% that Israel controls in the Gaza Strip. They want to make as many gains as they can to make sure that when there is a potential ceasefire, that they're going to control most of the land they can. They're also doing something and proposing something that may be a game changer as well. Ephraim, they're talking about a humanitarian city down in southern Gaza. Now, what this would do, and may include as many as 600,000 Gazans, would actually really undermine the ability of Hamas to control the population, and that would really accelerate the goal of Israel to make sure that Hamas can never once again control and govern the Gaza Strip, as well as defeating Hamas militarily. And we'll see about the ceasefire. We still keep hearing about reports, but Hamas still seems to be intransigent, wanting a permanent end to the war and the withdrawal of IDF forces, which Israel is unwilling to agree to.
Let's talk about the fighting in Syria. Why is Israel's military protecting the Druze population there?
Well, they want to protect the Druze not only in Syria, but they have a large Druze population in Israel. The Druze are separated or spread throughout this region in Lebanon, Syria, and Israel. And as they want to protect the people of the Druze, but that are loyal to Israel. And so why this fighting is so important. And what's happening, Ephraim, it seems to be these Islamist forces affiliated with the regime going down. They want to eliminate these Druze. They believe they are infidels. They have seen video of them being captured and humiliating some of these Druze men. And so it's very, very important in the long term, in the bigger picture, Ephraim, of actually trying to lift sanctions off of Syria, bring them potentially into the Abraham Accords. This is something that President Trump seems to be wanting to do, but this really goes contrary to what Israel would hope. And I would say the U.S. would hope that these Islamist forces are attacking some of these Druze within Syria.
What do you think this does, and how does it impact Israel's efforts to build relations with the new government in Syria?
It really makes it's very difficult for Israel to make improve relations with the Al-Jilani government, now called Al-Shara, if they continue to attack the Druze and they continue to go south. I mean, that's part of the reason Israel wants a demilitarized zone, at least no heavy weapons in that part of Syria below south of Damascus. So this could be really complicate the hope that there would be normalization between Syria, the new Syrian government, and Israel.
Let's look ahead to what you have for us on Jerusalem Dateline. What can we see?
Well, we have updates with Chuck Holton as well, and Julie Stahl. We also have a story on Netzavim. This is an event that we have covered twice in the past 2 years. And what it is high school students that go over to Hebrew University for what's called a gap year, and they are preparing themselves to go to these hostile universities in the United States, including Columbia, Harvard, and Yale, and they want to develop ways that Jewish students can affirm their Judaism, can be protected in case of hostile attacks. And that's one thing. Also, there's a quite interesting conversation between Yishai Fleischer. He is the international spokesman for Hebron, which is the capital of Israel even before Jerusalem, and as well as Chuck Holton. So that's going to be on today's Jerusalem Dateline.
Looking forward to all of that. Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell, thank you for your insights. And, of course, we'll be checking back in with you in the days ahead this week. I want to remind you at home that you can get the latest from Jerusalem Dateline at 8 Eastern. You can find it on the CBN News channel. You can also watch it on the CBN News app, or you can watch it on YouTube. Here at home coming up, President Donald Trump taking a tougher line against Russia, saying he will sell weapons to NATO to help Ukraine defend itself against deadly Russian attacks. We're going to have that story for you when we come back. You are watching CBN NewsWatch. President Donald Trump is taking a stronger stance on his Russian policy. He's announced a plan with NATO to send U.S. weapons to Ukraine, paid for by Europe. He's also putting the pressure on Russia's President Vladimir Putin by calling on him to negotiate a ceasefire in 50 days or be prepared to pay the price. CBN's Wendy Griffith has this story.
President Trump says he's disappointed in Vladimir Putin and is tired of playing games. Monday, Trump announced he's selling U.S. weapons to NATO to help defend Ukraine against Russia's attacks, the move signaling a major shift in his Ukraine policy, one in which Europe will step up and pay.
This is a very big deal we've made. This is billions of dollars worth of military equipment is going to be purchased from the United States, going to NATO, etc. And that's going to be quickly distributed to the battlefield.
The president says this goes beyond just sending Patriot missile defense systems. It involves missiles, ammunition, a full battery of weapons. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte helped broker the agreement between the U.S. and European nations. And he says many countries are coming forward, ready to pay big to arm Ukraine.
This is again Europeans stepping up. So I've been in contact with many countries. I can tell you that at this moment, Germany massively, but also Finland and Denmark and Sweden and Norway, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Canada, they all want to be part of this, and this is only the first wave.
Ukraine will receive much of the weaponry it needs almost immediately. Trump says he hopes this new deal will help push Moscow towards peace, voicing frustration with the tactics of Russian President Vladimir Putin.
I speak to him a lot about getting this thing done. And I always hang up and say, well, that was a nice phone call. And then missiles are launched into Kiev or some other city. And I said, it's strange. And after that happens 3 or 4 times, you say, the talk doesn't mean anything.
Brad Bowman, senior director of the Center on Military and Political Power at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, told CBN News Faith Nation Trump is discovering the truth about Putin.
Trump is realizing that Vladimir Putin is all talk, and he's going to continue with his war until we shift his cost-benefit analysis. And you do that with tariffs, secondary sanctions, and weapons to the people of Ukraine so they can defend their homes against this unprovoked invasion.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky thanked the U.S. for the support. It's been the deadliest month for civilians in Ukraine to date, with Russian missile strikes in major cities increasing from a year ago. Trump also announced he'll be imposing secondary tariffs at 100% on countries that do business with Russia if a deal to end the war isn't reached within 50 days. Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
Still ahead, stressed out? We've got the answer for you as a pastor explains what the Bible and brain science have to say about reducing anxiety. We're going to hear from him right after this. Believe it or not, 1 in 4 American adults say they are so stressed out they cannot function properly, according to the American Psychological Association. On this week's Healthy Living program, Pastor Charles Stone, the author of the book Stress Less, describes how to reduce that anxiety using wisdom from the Bible and brain science. Take a look.
Stress is kind of like a coin. I have this big fake penny here. There are 2 sides to a coin, 2 sides to stress. On one side of that stress coin is the event or that thing out there that can potentially cause us stress. That's one side. The other side is how we respond. Now, there's an immediate response to a stress event. You know, we feel butterflies, we get more nervous, those kind of things. But long-term stress is one of the flavors that actually is bad for us. The 2 flavors are acute and chronic. Like, for example, right now, I'm feeling a little bit of acute stress, but this is good for us because it motivates us, gets us going, helps us focus. Chronic stress is that kind that lasts for days, weeks, months, and that's when it does its dirty work. So given those 2 kind of ideas, here's the definition of stress. It's the God-given thing that God has built into us to respond to real or perceived threats or demands. So that's how you define them. Now, usually when we say I'm stressed, it's that second side of that coin. I'm feeling a certain way. So that, I think, is a good sound definition of stress.
Well, you talk about chronic stress and sort of it's something that goes on and on and on. How do people know if they're experiencing chronic stress? I would imagine a lot of people don't know. Maybe their family members know, but I mean, how do you know if you are, you know, sometimes you can look at a person and say, you're stressed out, but the person doesn't really realize that they're suffering from chronic stress.
Yeah. Well, a few of the ways to do it is, first of all, is to ask yourself, have you lost joy in things you used to enjoy? That's one example. Do you find yourself not sleeping as well? That is a real cue. Do you find yourself with more of an upset stomach, or maybe tightness constantly in your shoulders or in other parts of your body? Those are some physical cues that can let us know. And of course, simply going to your doctor and asking him, like, hey, doc, I think I may be under stress. How do I really know? He can actually do a few diagnostics, and actually probably in a short conversation can say, yeah, you are probably under chronic stress and you need to dial it down or learn to respond to it in a healthier way.
Well, I love in your book you talk about how, you know, there are things in life we just live in a very stressful world, but it is our response. You really focus on our response to these things. You know, you can't take away traffic jams. You know, you can't take away what's going on in the news and, you know, awful things that happen in our families, et cetera, but it is our response to them that is so key, isn't it?
Yes, yes. And I use another illustration. Again, I love show and tell. I love that in the third grade. I have a rock in my hand. And let's say I'm presenting on stress, and I bring an end table with glass on top of it. And I ask the audience, now, if I hold this rock up 6 feet above the glass and drop it, what's going to happen? Or are they going to say that the glass is going to break? Some people are like that. They have no resilience, which is the healthy response to stress, and they break stuff. They break their bodies. They break relationships. So that's one way, an unhealthy way to respond to stress. Now, here's the other way. Got an egg right here. So if I ask my audience, if I drop this egg on this end table, what's going to happen? They're going to say, it's going to break and make a mess. Some people have no resilience in regard to stress, and they break up, and they make a mess of things. But here's the key, and here's how we need to respond to it. Got a tennis ball. Now, if I hold the tennis ball up, I ask the audience, what's going to happen if I drop it? What are they going to say? It's going to bounce back. That is kind of the big picture of the global response that I believe God wants us to respond when we face stress. It's called resilience. Just like this tennis ball, it bounces back. But it's not just bouncing back. It's also learning from and adapting to that. And every one of us, no matter what we're facing, even though that issue may never go away, God has given us the equipment. Science has informed us that we can do certain things to help us respond in a healthier way to that stress issue.
Again, the book is called Stress Less, and you can learn more about how to do just that on this week's edition of Healthy Living today on the CBN News Channel at 2:30 and 8:30 Eastern. You can also see it on the CBN News app, or you can find it on YouTube. Coming up, the incredible work of the Lord through the Asian Center for Missions, founded by CBN's Gordon Robertson 30 years ago. We're going to bring you that story when we come back. "30 years ago, CBN's Gordon Robertson founded the Asian Center for Missions in the Philippines. Recently, he returned to Manila to celebrate that anniversary and the amazing work the Lord has done since taking that step of obedience. CBN Asia correspondent Lucille Toulousan takes us there.
Faith and revelation helped propel the vision that God placed in the heart of Gordon Robertson to start the Asian Center for Missions, ACM, in the Philippines in 1995, even though no funds existed to cover expenses.
I got this great revelation, you know, did I really think the creator of the universe could not provide? It was slow in the first year, and then it just seemed to snowball, and God gave the increase fairly quickly. It became the largest missionary training center and sender in the Philippines.
The ACM trained missionaries, unhindered by the challenges they often face in the field, gathered in Manila to celebrate 3 decades of God's faithfulness as they ministered to 304 unreached people groups in 77 nations.
Some, I shook their hands. some of their hands were calloused, the sign of the sacrifice, the hard work. We can say that ACM is ready to give birth to international training centers. We will echo the words of Caleb when he said, "Let us go, let us possess and overcome."
One overcomer is Rolin Cadiz. For 17 years, she has been helping young refugees fleeing the war in Myanmar to find safety at the Thailand border. She showed Robertson the soap and tea that their students make.
We have a children's home. We teach them skills training, computer, baking, and sustainable projects. Pray for us. We want to start a school.
Let's just pray for this troubled region, that peace would come, that messengers would be sent from God's own heart, and the provision these people need for just the basics of life, food and shelter, would be provided for them.
At the missions fiesta, the missionaries received important care they provide others.
Today, Operation Blessing has provided free medical and dental checkups for our missionaries, and this is to show them our appreciation as they have been ministering to people in their mission fields for many years.
The ACM 30th anniversary celebration culminated with a meaningful parade of the nations reached by the missionaries. Robertson reminded everyone that it is God's love that compels one to do missions.
And you can ask Him to so fill you with His love that He won't give you rest day or night until either you go or you send.
Lucille Talusan, CBN News, Makati, Philippines.
Time now for your Tuesday Tweetable. It's a thought to encourage you and then move you to encourage others by posting, tagging, and tweeting it to those in your circles of influence. Know this, change is a promise. It's coming with every passing moment of the day, the week, the month, and the year. Your response to that change is a choice. Pray, listen for God's wisdom, and then choose wisely. With that word, make today a terrific Tuesday. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. You can always find more of our programs on the CBN News channel at any time, as well as online, cbnnews.com. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. We'll see you back here same time tomorrow. Goodbye and God bless.